Hey there, Al Perhacs. Welcome to the dark side of mind force and chi energy defense system. And welcome. Now, I got to tell you something. I wanted this to be a live webinar for everyone that's joined, but I had some technical difficulties. I'm actually in a hotel room in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, I already knew that I was going to be here and that I was going to do this first class from Charlotte. And essentially, I have everything I need. The only thing is I forgot a few of the things that I needed for my computer, and I had to go out and buy them. I was running into some technical difficulties with some of the software and that kind of things. But for the most part, we are ready to go, rock and roll, and this will be provided for you. You'll be able to review it as much as possible. Now, a few ground rules as we go into this is that this is somewhat live in the sense that I want you to look at this training as if you and I are just sitting in my office, or we're in your office, or we're someplace, and we're sharing ideas. We're talking about these concepts. So I want you to take it from that framework, because everything that I'm going to teach you today and also in the subsequent bonus weeks are going to be designed so that it builds on from today into the bonus weeks. Now, that being said, is that this is going to be a lot of information. You're going to get a lot of information today. So what I'm going to recommend you do, because there's going to be about a week or so before the next class. Now, the next class will be live. I'll make sure that's live. Now, if you can't attend, that's not an issue, because you'll be able to get the replays on the website. Make sure that it's very easy for you to get to it, and that's how it's going to work. The other thing is I'm going to make this very loose, very relaxed type of atmosphere. I have my water here. Like I said, it's going to be just like we're sitting in front of each other talking, because I like when it's conversational more so than having like this script that I'm going to stick to. Of course, I have great notes that I'm going to share with you. We've got a great tool that we're going to be using called Trello. If you have never used it before, it is phenomenal, and I get better with it each class that I do. And this one, you'll be getting all the notes. You'll be getting access to everything so you can use it personally. I'll go into that as we go through this. So those are kind of some of the ground rules in terms of what we're going to do. I want you to ask me questions for the next session so that I can prepare content for the session. Many of you have already sent questions to me, and I've already loaded them in to the class, and that's what we're going to go over today. So I don't know exactly how long we're going to go today. We're going to go as long as it takes to get done. If that's an hour, two, whatever, we're going to do that. So let's get started. And let me just start by saying this, is that if you have experience, and I'm assuming some of you have experience with energy, chi energy, some other type of energy that you're doing, Reiki energy, whatever. Okay. Some of you work with Mind Force, work with me in terms of the Mind Force library and some of the other programs that we have. This is going to build upon those concepts. So if you don't have access to the Mind Force library, I encourage you to get it. In fact, if you're in this program, let me know, send me an email, and I'll get you it at a reduced rate because you signed up for this class. If you already have the Mind Force library, then you're good to go. Now, some other things that you might want to have, if you don't already have the experience, is the Chi Power Blueprint System. Fantastic. The Advanced Chi video. Now, I won't be specifically going into any of those methods here. I'll be assuming that you already have some type of energy method that you've been using. You've been already using some mental strategies, some meditations, spiritual concepts. So I'm assuming you're already doing that. If you're not, I certainly have resources where you can take advantage of that. It's not something you have to do, but it's there if you need it. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you what the Trello board looks like, and we're going to jump right in. I don't like to waste any time. And like I said, I've got a lot of material to cover, not only in this session, but in the other sessions. And I promise you're going to get a great deal of not just information, but techniques that you can use immediately. So let's take a look at the Trello board. And the reason why I use Trello is because it's a software that allows you to be able to create these lists, and then also to be able to create cards within the list. And I'm not going to go into a Trello seminar here. you can go onto YouTube and find really good resources on how to use Trello. It's very, very intuitive, very simple. And this is the master list board that I'm using. When I get done today, I'm going to copy this so that you can get a copy of it. You can sign up for Trello. It's absolutely free. But what's unique about this, unlike other training classes where maybe you get a PDF download or a document or something like that, this is going to be a living document in the sense that it's a software. Now, just taking as an example, let's say I'm going to go through this. We've got our kind of the introductory dark side does exist. I'm going to go through a lot of cool stuff there. The seduction of the dark side, defending dark side attack, physical manipulation, mental manipulation, spiritual manipulation, and then a whole host of techniques. We won't cover all of these techniques today. We probably just won't have time. Even in weeks of time, there's still not enough time to handle all the possible techniques that we could cover, as well as the defenses against the techniques, right? So just to give you an example, if you take a look at this technique, chi disturbance, which we will go over, you can open up the card, and then once you have access to Trello, you're going to copy the board for yourself, and then you can actually make notes. Once you're on the board, all of you that are attending this class right now will have access to the Trello board. You'll be able to ask questions. I'll have a question and answer section. You can ask me a question, and then I can answer it through this board, or I'll answer it in email, and then we can add it to the board, or we can add it to one of the sessions. So don't get too confused about the board. You're going to get access to it. You're going to be able to use it, play around with it. You can move these cards from these are lists here, and then these things in here are cards. And like I said, I'm only going to keep it as much as you need to know in order to make sure you understand how the process works. So that's the Trello board. We're going to go into that. That's going to be how we're going to learn it. And then I'm going to physically show you some of the techniques, obviously. And that's why this lends itself so well, because I can stand and I can show you a technique back up if I have to, whatever the case might be. I think it's going to be a very, very good way to present it. It's unique, and I've used it with some of my high-end coaching clients, and they absolutely love it. They love this type. It's like you're in front of one another and you're talking about it. With this one, I'm not exactly live, but you're going to be getting this just a few hours after I've recorded it, which is cool. So let's get started. Let's talk about this dark side and how you're going to defend against it, why you want to defend against it, and why these things work. First of all, I'm a martial artist. I've been teaching the martial arts for over 20 years. I've been involved in the martial arts and teaching it for over 20 years. And one of the concepts that you learn in martial arts, the first thing you learn for the most part, before you start punching, before you start kicking, is you learn how to defend yourself. And that's as simple as a block. That's as simple as understanding that you need to cover yourself if somebody comes at you swinging. And it's true. That's true today for me as an experienced martial artist, as it is for you, in the sense that if you can block and if you can defend, you have a much better chance than if you leave yourself wide open. And we're going to use that context as we go into this dark side, because you can get attacked and you need to know how to defend yourself against these types of attacks. Now, in order for me to explain it, I'm going to actually teach you how to use dark-sided techniques. However, a lot of these techniques that you're going to learn are really yin and yang. They're good or bad depending upon your intention. And that's really an important thing that you'll understand, is that just about everything that I'm going to teach in this entire program can be used to help people or hurt them. Obviously, my thing is helping people. My thing is not hurting people. Although I'll go into my background a little bit, and you'll see that I use these techniques probably to manipulate people in the past, and sometimes it bit me, and that's why, some people say, "Hey, why would you even teach this?" Well, they're already out there, so I need to help you defend. Just like martial arts, people say, "Why would you teach how to kill somebody in martial arts?" And I know that sounds a little brutal, but the fact of the matter is, you have to take things to an extreme if you want to get real results for people. And so we're going to take this training to the extreme. I'm going to talk about some of going to be kind of nasty things that some of you might be like, wow, that's not really cool to ever do to somebody. But hey, let's face it, there are people out there that are evil, and there are people out there that want to mess with you, and there are people out there that sometimes do these things unintentionally. And it's just as important to know how to defend against somebody that has an unintentional type of attack as an intentional attack. So that's very important you understand. So it's all about defending and blocking and then using offense. So let's go back to the board and take a look at it and go through some of the P's. So as I mentioned, it's light and dark, yin and yang. It's good and evil. It's the energy. Okay. It's energy and intent. And you're going to get access to all of these cards so you can review everything that I'm talking about. And you can make notes actually in the cards. So here's energy, intent and energy. Most of these techniques can be used for good or bad results, healing or hurting, helping or destroying. And so with that context, everything that I'm going to talk about is from that perspective. It's all the intent. It's the energy that you're putting out. And if you're putting out good energy, it's hard to be evil with it. People that get involved in these types of things get seduced by the dark side. If you think about light and dark, and you're going to notice that as we go through this training, I'm going to switch a lot back and forth between the Trello board, the notes, if you will, and the live, because I want this to be interactive. So you see my face, my facial expressions, and that type of thing. Here's one thing you have to understand is that it's the intent of the energy and the concept of light and dark. Think of light and dark. You go outside in the sun, it's light, it's bright. It gives you a feeling of euphoria. Right? Most of the time, if you go out in the sun, right now we're in summer and it's nice and sunny out. It gives you that great feeling. Now, by contrast, what does darkness give you? Let's say a thunderstorm. Let's say where it's raining and it's dark and it's dismal. It doesn't make you feel nearly as euphoric. And so the dark side is in and of itself dark, becomes something that is less desirable. Now, in my training in doing Qi over the years is I've learned to embrace the dark. When I first started, like everybody, you're not afraid of the dark maybe when you're an adult, but you have an apprehension because things happen in the dark, and they do. And we're going to talk about that. And you need to embrace the dark in a way that you have to be prepared for whatever comes your way, because I've been attacked many, many different ways. And I'm going to explain some of those ways today. And I'm sure you have too, because obviously you wouldn't have done this if you didn't think that you were attacked. And some of the attacks that you may have had to deal with, we can handle right here in this particular class, and you can learn from it. And I'm going to give you defense mechanisms that you can use that are going to work. I'm only teaching things that I know work and that my students or myself have used. There are tons of other techniques out there, maybe hundreds, maybe thousands of techniques. So if I don't cover a specific technique that you've heard about, it's because I haven't used it or one of my students haven't used it. Not to say that it doesn't work. That's the same thing for any of the techniques, whether it's a good or bad technique that's going to be used for harm or that's going to be used to help people out. So keep that in mind as we go through that. So you'll see me flipping back and forth to make sure that we cover all the information. So one of the things that you need to do is you need to create a control panel. And what I call a control panel is a control room control panel, something in your head that allows you to have a mechanism that gives you the ability to lock in to a situation. And meditation is a good way to do that. Okay. Meditation is great. I teach a lot of meditation. A lot of Qi energy is meditation and different forms of energetic exercises. So you have meditation, which is can be an energy exercise. And then you've got chi power exercises, which are designed to create the chi. So every technique that I'm going to teach you is going to work for you as is, regardless of your experience. However, depending upon your experience level, the more chi you have, the more energy you have, the stronger your energy is, the better these techniques are going to work. So if you don't have an energetic practice right now, I'd recommend that you get one. And that could start out as easy as doing meditation. Now, I'm not going to get into a meditation seminar, but meditation as a control panel allows you to be able to thwart some of the things that we're going to be talking about in this class. And a control panel is something you can get into immediately and start to use for what you're doing. And you can increase your energy many different ways. There's a lot of different ways you can increase your energy. And one of those ways is through the meditation process. And you can do that as simple as sitting in a chair. And you get into the zone and you visualize your body as a chi mechanism, as a meditation mechanism, in order to be able to use that in order to manipulate. Now, when I say manipulate, you're going to you are manipulating energy, regardless of whether you're doing it for good purposes or bad purposes. You're always going to be manipulating with energy. Anybody that's going to try to manipulate you is going to manipulate you with the energy. And that energy is either going to be mental energy, it's going to be physical energy, or it's going to be a spiritual energy. So it's those three things. And you'll notice that if you've been on any of my other training, even some of my free training, I talk about the triad method. And that's those three: mind, body, spirit. Well, when somebody attacks you, they can attack you in one or more or all of those facets, depending upon how steadfast they want to attack you. And so you need to have a way that you can instantly get to a point of where you feel comfortable. And part of that is meditation. Now, some of it could be a standing meditation, lying down meditation, sitting meditation. Sitting meditation could be as simple as sitting in a chair like this with your hands on your knees, closing your eyes, relaxing. I do a lying down meditation a lot. And either way, you want to bring the energy up through your feet and you want to bring it up into your body. You really don't want to shoot it into your head. And even if you're an advanced practitioner, these are good techniques to rehash so you can understand how simple it is to increase your chi energy. Now, obviously, there are techniques that ramp it up a lot more. The Advanced Chi DVD and video that I did years and years ago ramps up your chi tremendously, although the techniques I'm teaching you right now are going to work as well. So the other thing is lying down meditation. Could be in a lazy boy chair or recliner. It could be on a bed. It can be on a floor. I used to do my meditations on the floor when I first started for years. On the floor, every single day, on the floor in my living room. I'd put down a blanket, I'd lie down, and I would do my meditations. I did everything from remote viewing, astral projection, just standard esoteric meditations by lying on the floor. So you can do it either way. And of course, I've done it every way in between. But lying down, you can lay down on a bed, and as your feet are out, you have your energy coming up into your body. And again, I would let it go to about here. I wouldn't let the energy go up into my head because the head is a very, very open area. You don't want the energy up there. So you want to keep the energy in your body, your arms, your organs, everywhere though. That energy comes in and it circulates. The reason I bring this up is I want your energy to be strong. I want your energy to be vibrant. I want you to think in your head that your energy is strong and vibrant, because it will be. Intent and energy intent. It's your intent. It's your mind force that makes you powerful. It's your mind force that allows you to be able to defend yourself. You need to have that belief system in place in order to get the maximum results out of what we're talking about here. So you're going to need to put in the flight time in order to get good at any of these techniques that we're going to talk about today. And that just simply means you need to create a habit of a training mechanism. One thing that most people don't understand is that it takes a lot of energy to manipulate somebody. It takes a lot of energy to actually pull off these dark side techniques. So don't think that somebody is so good that they can just, whip something on you, because it takes energy to do it. It takes intense focus of energy to get a lot of these techniques to work. Now, that's probably the good side of these techniques in the sense that somebody that's going to try these techniques on you more than likely won't do it because of the fact that it takes too much work. If they wanted to mess with you other ways, they could probably do it a lot easier. And that's one of the things I've always thought about is that it does take work to get good at the dark side or the light side. It's not an easy method, right? I mean, think about it. To increase your body's strength, if you want to look like a bodybuilder, that takes intense workout at the gym. You can't expect to go to the gym once a week and have, super big muscles. Not going to happen. You can't expect to jog once a week and be good at jogging or running. Same thing's true here. You got to put in the flight time with the right exercises. And when you're looking to use these techniques, you got to have the right focus intent as well. So it does take a lot of energy for somebody to pull this off with you. And it takes a lot of energy for you to defend and to manipulate as well. So first thing first is you need to identify someone's energy and flow patterns. Now, when I talk about that, I want you to think about this from the perspective of when you identify somebody's flow patterns and you identify somebody's energy, you're going to notice something about that person. Now, everything that I mention in this class, I want you to look at it from the perspective of how you could use it to manipulate somebody in the wrong way. I also want you to be able to experience it and say, how could I manipulate somebody in the right way? Now, let me give you an example. How can you manipulate somebody and it be good versus negative? Okay, first way would be, let's say somebody has an addiction and you want to help them get rid of that addiction, that habit, whatever it is. You can manipulate them to get rid of that habit. That's the good way to do it, right? You've actually assisted somebody and you've helped them. The second way is that if you use that manipulation to actually give them a habit that's not good, that's not going to be a blessing to them, that would be manipulating in the wrong way. So you can see it's a double-edged sword and it works both ways. So everything that I talk about, I want you to look at it from that perspective. If I could manipulate negatively or I can manipulate positively, if somebody were to do this to me, they could do it to me positively. And you got to learn to recognize somebody's energy. The minute somebody gets in front of you, you want to recognize their energy. What does it feel like? Does it feel good? Does it feel clean? Does it feel dirty? What does it feel like? That's what you need to learn how to do. Because if somebody's going to manipulate you energetically, that's exactly what they're going to do. Is they're going to test. They want to feel your energy. Is it strong? Is it weak? Do you have weaknesses? Is there a way that they can actually get inside of your head, your body, spiritually? They're going to do some reconnaissance in order to set that up. It's not going to happen by magic. It's absolutely not. And that's the way it goes. So repetition creates belief. Belief creates a strong habit. It doesn't always have to be physical. It can be mental or even spiritual in this repetition. So again, anyone that's going to use these techniques, it's usually going to be in a repetitive fashion. So if you can, like I said, if you can start to feel somebody's energy, you can feel if they're probing you, if they're sending energy your way. If somebody's like, I can tell if somebody's sending energy my way, and I can tell if it's negative or not. And if I meet somebody and I can feel negative energy, if I can feel them trying to pull the energy out of my body, and we'll cover the exact techniques. If I can feel that energy leaving, I have to ask myself, what's going on here? And I need to be able to find who that person is. But repetition creates belief. If somebody does enough of something in your mind, body, or your spirit, you start to believe it, and then you start to create a habit of that. And that's how some people can get inside your head, physical with the chi, with energy, and spiritually. And that would be used through entities, demons, all kind of weird things like that. And I know some of you are probably going, yeah, right. Well, I'm going to tell you some stories that absolutely maybe kind of freak you out a little bit. Maybe they won't. I don't know. We'll see. Areas to affect. People are going to affect many different areas. We talk about this: physical, mental, spiritual, but your heart, your mind, your internal organs, your sexual organs, smell, sound, taste, any way that they can. And again, I want you to, think about this from the standpoint of how someone can use these techniques against you, how you could use them against somebody, because I'm going to go into exercises and say, I want you to pick somebody and I want you to mess with them a little bit. Now, we're going to mess with them in a very nice way, relatively speaking, to this concept of dark side, because there are definitely people that get involved in the dark side. What is the seduction of the dark side? The seduction of the dark side is all about power. It's all about control. It's all about feeling like you need to be on that dark side in order to get that power. In fact, I remember that one of the guys that it wasn't somebody I trained with. I learned a lot from this one particular guy, but when he was younger, he was in a house in Texas, and he was sitting at this table, and this guy started moving objects with his mind, with his hands, chi energy. And he told this guy, if you will train with me, I will show you how to do this and more. But you've got to come to the dark side. It sounds like a Star Wars thing, but this was like a coven of witches and warlocks. That's the best way I could describe it. Maybe that's not what they called themselves, but that's what they were. And this colleague of mine, this friend, left and said, no, I'm not interested in that. Now, he's not an overly religious guy, but he realized that probably wasn't the way to get there. So some people get involved in this kind of thing to be on the dark side, just like people get involved in drugs and gangs and terrorist efforts. There's people that do a lot of, sliding scale bad things, right? Doing bad things is a sliding scale. It could be something that is extremely evil, like murder, like rape, like hurting children. There's a lot of evil things out there, but it's a sliding scale. People could get involved in this just to mess with people, maybe to cheat on somebody, or maybe to get money. A lot of times this comes down to money and love and lust and these carnal natures. That's why people manipulate with the dark side. This is why somebody would do this. Let's say you have a former lover that you guys broke up or whatever, and they want to get back at you, and they do these types of techniques. They could mess with you. Just like, you hear about it all the time, where you get a jilted lover who is literally will track this person down and will be creeping on them all the time, and maybe eventually will even hurt that person. Okay, that person doesn't have anything to do with energy, doesn't know anything about energy, but they're using similar techniques to actually harm that person, in the sense that they're using probably a different physical type technique, but you could use mental techniques that cause just as much harm. Think about this. How many people do you know that have been emotionally beat up over life? Most of us have been emotionally or mentally abused. I want you to think about mental abuse a little bit, because it's one of these things that a lot of people don't put a lot into it. There's a lot of women out there that can be mentally abused by their boyfriend or by their spouse, and they would never report that person to the police. Now, maybe if it went to the physical level and they were beat, they would maybe go to the police, but sometimes they never even think about the mental abuse. And a friend of mine, I remember not that long ago, telling me about his mother and his father. He says, my father never, beat my mother. He never hit her, but what he did to her was far worse. He dehumanized her. He beat her up mentally and emotionally, told her how bad she was, how she wasn't worthy, and now she's in a mental institution. Do you think that could have had some type of result? Well, this is the same thing here. And when we talk about hypnotic influence in a little bit, you can use powerful protocols to do that. Excuse me. But you don't need to be a hypnotic influence specialist to cause problems for people. But what you can do when you're a hypnotic influence specialist is you can do it under the covers, and you can do it a lot more elegantly for a bad purpose. Excuse me. And so that's what you got to think about when you look at why someone would do this. Is there's a lot of different reasons. Okay. And then there's the witches and other dark-sided people. And these people are they're going to case you like a burglar. They're going to find intel on you, and they're going to plan the perfect manipulation or way to affect you. And they're going to use these sneaky ways. Now, in some of these dark-sided people, and I've met plenty of them, and I've trained with them, and I've even done some of their techniques, is to mess with people and to get a result. It's how you can tell if you're getting better. Several of the people I trained with, that's what it was about. It was about getting better, stronger, more powerful. And part of that power is how can you manipulate somebody? How can you get something from somebody that they don't want to give you? But see, that's kind of a weird concept, because if you cause somebody to think and act as if they want to give you something, you can cause them to give you something. I've done it many, many times. And some of it I'm proud of, and some of it I'm not. But the fact of the matter is, these techniques work magnificently when you work them. Now, let's talk a little bit about energy vampires, because this is part of it. Somebody draining your energy. The truth about energy vampires is that people will suck the energy out of you. And the way they do it, they invade the joints, and sometimes they just spiral it out of you. Sometimes it's deliberate, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes people don't even understand how the energy works, and they're really an energy vampire, and they don't even know it. But if you want to take energy out of somebody, if I want to take energy out of you, I'm going to tell you how I'm going to do it. Now, I know you think, how can I do that? It's the joints. Right there. Right there. Back of the leg, right there. Okay. Any joint areas in the body that you can grab the energy out of. I could be sitting in front of you right now, and I could pull the energy out. I don't even need to make this type of pulling motion. I don't have to use my hands. I'm showing it on video to instruct you what I'm doing, but I could be sitting here right here. And as I breathe in, I tell my mind, every time I breathe in, I'm taking energy out of this person's joints. Good energy. Now, here's the thing. If you're going to take energy from somebody, you need to make sure it's energy you want, because you don't want to pull energy out of somebody that maybe has nasty energy. Have you ever met somebody that you thought, man, I don't like their energy at all? You wouldn't want to take that energy. But if you meet somebody that's got great energy, you want to pull the energy out. Sometimes we do that selfishly, not because we're deliberately trying to be evil, but because we want a little boost for ourselves. And if you're an energy vampire, you can go around and find people that have high energy and get a little taste, get a little nip of that. And you can go around and you can do that. If you took 10% of somebody's energy and you did it with 100 people, how much more energy would you have? And you really haven't affected them that much. Now, by the same token, to do it on the dark side is you would try to drain them, just like a vampire would. And there's many different ways you can do that. You can drain somebody's energy pretty quickly. And if you're focused and intent, again, this takes focus and intent, takes work, takes effort. It's not going to be something like, hey, I'm going to just take Al's energy. It's not going to happen. Especially it's not going to happen to me, because I'm not going to let that happen. If I feel it, you can turn around, you can feel somebody taking a little taste. getting a little wet their beak a little bit with your energy. And so if I wanted to drain your energy, I would do it slowly, just a little bit at a time. Now, if your energy wasn't what I liked in terms of energy, but I wanted to manipulate you, I take that energy out. I just immediately rebound it off of me and throw it away. I don't want that energy, but I can still manipulate you with your energy by not taking it inside of me. It's kind of like this. I take the energy from you and I push it to the side. And I know that sounds overly simplistic, but the energy is controlled by the mind. If you go back and look at the ancient texts, the mind moves the chi. What's all about the belief of that? The mind moving the chi. And so I take your energy out and I pull it away from me and I push it out. Now, if I want that energy, I pull it in. It feels good. Give me that energy. Now, what you're going to notice is that there is a mental, spiritual, and physical aspect to draining somebody's energy like a vampire. Number one, physical, I just explained that. Mentally, you can drain somebody's energy in the sense that you mentally say to them, boy, you really look tired. You really look like you're drained. Now, you can say that physically. You can say that mentally. And as you're saying it mentally, you're pulling the energy out. You just feel drained. You feel weak. You have no energy. I'm taking your energy. That's how you can do it. And on the spiritual way, energy vampires are not only mortals, but they're also entities. And again, this is something that sometimes when I mention entities, people go, oh no, this guy's totally off his rocker. But there is a spiritual side to this world. And that spiritual side of this world will take your energy. This is a really important lesson because there's a lot of people out there who build up their energy, but they build it in a way that attracts these entities. Now, what attracts these entities? What attracts these entities is highly energy that's vibrational. And the highest vibrational energies that are out there are the ones that are, I would say, hot is the best way to describe it. And they're intense in their sexual energy, depression, anger. But those are things that fear. Anytime somebody gets into a depressive mode, what are they like? You could probably feel my energy dropping as I just, my body language. You know, it's reminiscent of what? Getting into a ball and rolling up and rolling away. Well, when you've got that energy, that depressed energy, entities can come in and they love that energy and they just take more of your energy out and they fester on that depression. I'm going to show you how to get out of that, but that's what they'll do. Now, if you don't believe in entities, hey, that's your deal. But if you train in this type of method long enough, you'll realize they're out there. And you've got to be able to resist that. And I'll show you how to do that. But then you've got people that will also drain that energy out because maybe they like that sexual energy. If you've got high sexual energy, people love that. It feels good. It feels raw. It is very tangible. What entities and most people that are on the dark side don't like? They don't like happiness. They don't like when you feel euphoric and blissful. They like when you feel depressed. They like the sexual because the sexual is not necessarily happy. It just is that raw sexual energy. But if you're euphoric and you're blissful and you're happy, that energy, people that are on the dark side are not going to like. So what they need to do is they need to flip you in order to take that energy. They need to get you depressed. They need to put fear and doubt in your mind so that you can't respond, right? Fear and doubt. It's one of the biggest things that are going to bother you is the aspect of fear and doubt. It will It will get you if you let it. Just don't let it. Curses, spells, and hexes. We've all heard of things like that, like the Maloik. The Maloik is a superstition and the belief of the evil eye placed on someone when someone else is jealous or envious of the other's good luck. And you'll notice that if you are Italian, you've probably worn a Maloik. You've worn the horn, and that's to protect you. And we're going to get in defending dark side with, you can use amulets and different things like that. But there are people think of curses, the evil eye. How many of you have heard of the evil eye? I mean, it's certainly something that people mention, but the evil eye is the power of the eyes. And I'm going to give you a couple different ways that looks. If I look intensely at you, that can be construed as an evil eye. Now, it's only evil based on my intent. It could be just an intense eye. Sometimes I get really intense, and people would come up to me and say, "Man, you look really intense, Al. What's up?" And it's because I'm concentrating or whatever. But I get that look, get that focused look, that chi look. Can you feel that? You should be able to, because it's intense. With my hands like this, it's shooting energy out at you where you should be going like, wow, that's too intense. So I could open my eyes to make it more intense, squint them. Now, if I want it to be relaxed, again, I've mentioned this on many of my training, but I want you to understand these things because it's important as you go into this defense mechanisms, you need to know all the little tricks. So if I want to be relaxed, now I'm going to use the same hand posture and a similar eyes, but you're going to feel the energy is going to be totally different. It's going to be totally relaxed, even though it's going to look very similar. Now, if you can determine the difference between those two different energies, the first, more intense, notice the eyes are a little bit more focused in, blazing in. My hands in the same position. It's intense, it's focused. Whereas the other one, even though it's similar, it's sleepy eye, relaxed. I'm telling myself I'm relaxed the second time, and the first time it's intense. Now, why am I teaching you this? Because if you wanted to be intensely focused on somebody or something, that's how you would do it. You would get into an intense focus. I mentioned in the introductory video about my friend who was focused on his wife's coworker who was causing her a lot of pain at work because she was stealing her sales and things. And my friend was literally focused on her and causing her harm, which is not a good thing. And I don't think my friend put two and two together. I believe that that's what he did. He kind of believes it too. Actually, he does believe it inside his subconscious. But the fact of the matter is he was intense. He was focused. Same thing here. And when somebody is going to be intense and focused on you, they can cause you a lot of problems. You can use techniques just by focusing on people. You can focus on the back of someone's head when they're in front of you. There's somebody sitting in front of you. You can focus. You can shoot that energy right out of your eyes to the back of their head and just circle it. And I want you to practice this whenever you can. It is messing with people a little bit, but it's learning the manipulation of the energy. It's learning how powerful that energy is. You could do it in the back of the ears, right? I guess it's not going to hurt anybody. But if you wanted to focus and intense on somebody, you can certainly do that. And again, this is how people that are skilled with these tools are going to start. They're going to find an entryway in. Just like a burglar, they're going to case you. They're going to find out how they're going to get with you. Now, if they already know you, they're going to exactly showcase that. And they're going to use powerful techniques to do that. And that's how it goes when it goes to this type of thing. Most techniques contain fear, doubt, confusion, and pain. That's what they want to do. They want to cause confusion, because when there's confusion, you can't make a decision. You can't move. So in the aspects of financial aspects, they can make you confused where you won't make a move. Fear, obviously, causing you to be fearful of virtually everything. I can make somebody be fearful almost without even talking to them, because I will put thoughts in their mind that they are fearful of just about everything. They're fearful of walking out the door. Now, think about this. These are emotional intensifiers. Fear. I give you a fear of virtually. Now, when I say everything, I have to be specific. If I'm going to get you to think or be fearful, I'm going to tell you that when you wake up in the morning, you're fearful. You wonder what's going to happen today. You wonder how the day's going to go. Is it going to work out? Am I going to lose my job? I'm sending this energy to you. You'll probably lose your job today. You'll probably do a terrible job. You woke up, watch, don't break your leg getting out of the bed. Don't fall down and get hurt. Don't slip in the shower. Be fearful of that, though. Get in a car. I want you to think about it. How fearful, how afraid you are of getting in that car today. That highway, man, it's going to be crowded. Man, that's scary. I want you to be afraid of that. I want you to be afraid of driving. I want you to be nervous. I want you to just be totally, almost confused. Now, I've mentioned some of these things, and you notice I lower my voice because when I'm talking to somebody's mind, I want it to be relaxed. Because I can say relaxed things to you that are very despicable. Just like I did. You're fearful. You're fearful of almost everything, but I'm specific. You're fearful of the car. You're fearful of getting out of bed. You're fearful of eating breakfast. What if somebody poisoned it? I'm going to give you doubt. You doubt the fact that your marriage is strong. Your spouse is cheating on you. They're deliberately taking money and putting it into a bank account for them and their girlfriend or their boyfriend. Now, I'm layering it in, but I want you to get this mental idea of how you do these things. Now, I can do these things also right in front of somebody, either mentally or physically or both, and put that energy at that fear, that doubt, that confusion. When I can send a confused chi, I can be sitting next to somebody in a bar and I send confusion over to them. How do I send confusion? I'm going to give you specific techniques that you can use it, but it's as simple as having a concept of how you send out your chi. And I've talked about circulating the chi out. When you can circulate your chi out, if somebody's sitting next to me, I just take that chi, circulate it out, and then circulate it around that person like a tornado. I can make that tornado strong and powerful, or I can make it subtle. Subtle is better because subtle infiltrates in a way that just kind of seeps in and automatically brings in that confusion. And so as I'm sitting next to this person, I'm thinking confusion, confusion, confusion. You're confused. You don't even remember your name. I'm going to ask you your name in a few minutes, and you're going to have to think about it. You're confused. And I can say hypnotic influence things to that person to make them even more confused. Are you confused? Or do you know your name? Or do you know your name? You probably don't even know your name. You're so confused. I can say that to somebody that I've just met, and they will be like, I don't know what my name is. Now, it takes practice. But again, I'm using the energy and I'm using the mental And then I'm going to use the physical words, and I can confuse this person. I can do the same thing with the fear and the doubt. Somebody can do it for you. And we're going to talk about the defense of these things, but these are some of the things that people will do. So, I mean, again, like I said, it's a sliding scale. That's probably not that bad. I'm messing with this individual, but the fact of the matter is I'm still messing with the person. I'm making them feel a certain way. Now, what would be better is having that energy and making this person feel so fantastic, so phenomenal that they want to buy me a drink, that they are like I'm their best friend. I can do either or with the energy and with my thoughts and my words. I can do everything. Given enough time and given enough concentration, I can pretty much do anything. Now, what would stop that from happening? What would stop that from happening is if this person over here is preoccupied intensely on something else. And so my energy is it's always being picked up by the subconscious, always. But the subconscious could take it and catalog it for later, you see. But chances are if this person's there, I can slip in. If they're talking to somebody else, I can also slip in. Even easier, because now they're not focused on maybe thinking about something, but they're talking. They're going back and forth. And let's say a man and a woman, I could make that man have self-doubt over the woman, or the woman have self-doubt over the man, vice versa, whatever. I can make that happen. You can make that happen. I would recommend you try it, but do it in a nice way. I've done it I've manipulated people in so many different ways. I remember I was at a sales convention years and years ago, and I had just gotten, involved in this hypnotic influence and the energy. Well, not just maybe 5 years, but I was testing this stuff out all the time. And I remember meeting this woman, and I started talking to her, and what I wanted to do is I wanted to send her sexual feelings, and I wanted her to feel this buildup, this sexual tension. I wanted her to just take it to the next level. Now, here's the thing, is when I did that, my goal was not to pursue her. My goal was for her to pursue me based on what I spoke to her about and the energy that I sent to her. That was the goal. It wasn't so that I could pick this person up, just so you understand. Okay, I'm married, and I wasn't going to do that. But I was looking for something that was going to tell me if it was going to work. And it did, because she called me up in my hotel room at 3 a.m. and she says, I can't sleep. I've been thinking about our conversation. I really would like to see you again. Do you want to get together right now? Let's talk more. That was kind of what I was planning in her head. Let's talk more. But of course, talk more it's not the whole thing, right? It's all the other things that go along with a sexually charged conversation. And here's the thing, I didn't use any sexual words. I used analogies that made her feel good, and that you're going to like talking to me. It's going to make you feel so good that you're going to want to take it whatever way you want to take it. So when she called me at 3 a.m. in my room, woke me up, I think this might have been even before cell phones. She woke me up and said, hey, I was thinking about you, and the conversation we had it was great. Can we get together right now? Who does that? Who calls you at 3 a.m. that you don't even know? It doesn't happen. It happened because I set it up and I made it happen. Now, it was a manipulation. So how did I reverse that manipulation? Because obviously I didn't want that to be something that was going to hang out there. So the next time we talked, I pulled it out of her, that desire. I pulled out this whole attraction, okay, by talking to her more, but in the reverse way that I did before. How did I do that? Talk more about my wife, more about my family, more about my kids. So I put a divider between that other tension, that other energy, whereas before the energy was inviting. This energy was not as inviting because I talked about my family. So that's a couple ways that you can manipulate. And this is the way people will manipulate you as well. You can feel that manipulation. And this, guys use it all the time on women. Let's face it. And quite frankly, women use it on men all the time. In fact, women can be better at it than men because that feminine charm, you can pretty much get away with anything. So women, you can use these techniques very, very effectively. The only problem, the only caution I would say is that you don't really want to lead a man on, because they will definitely, drive to the hoop, so to speak, against the woman. But if you want to get good at it, you try it. One way you might try it is with another woman, just to see what kind of results you get. Now, you can also do it with, I don't like male to male and female to female energy sometimes, because I'm heterosexual. But if you were heterosexual and you were doing this attraction to a man, he would probably take a swing at you if you're a guy, and you set him up for that. So keep that in mind, that it could get you into some trouble for sure. So let me give you some examples of ways that I was manipulated by people that were trying to get something out of me or whatever. So a student back in 2002 that I had trained, and I trained this guy up very high level, and he wanted to learn more and more. And then he got to this point where he started to abuse the techniques. He started to build the chi up so much. If you build up your chi too much, it becomes, if you build your chi up too much, it becomes too much yang, which is the positive energy that's just so charged. Well, if you build up too much yang energy, you actually go to the other end of the yin side. And then what happens is that yin energy is then being used for, it really becomes a negative. And so this guy was training, wasn't listening to what I said, and I basically cut him off. Said, I can't really teach you anymore. He got really mad. So he started to send a negative energy out to me. And I could feel it was him. And he was messing with everything, websites. You could feel the energy. You could feel that, when you train with somebody long enough, when they're intent on you. And I could feel this intense energy, energetic, just somebody thinking about you all the time, thinking bad about you all the time. Why did they do this? And he literally blamed me for his current situation. He lost his girlfriend, lost his job. So again, everything that was involved in his life was because of me that went bad, when in reality, he caused it. But in order to get back at me, he was going to send this negative, dirty energy my way. And when we talk about the defense aspect, I'm going to tell you exactly how we can defend against things like that. I had a ninja in 1996. Now, I know that sounds crazy. 1996, a ninja, right? A ninja. This guy was actually a ninja practitioner, pretty well known. And he was messing with me, sending me this energy, sending me these weird dreams. Now, I know what you're saying. Hey, how did I know it was him? Because if you can track the chi, if you get to feel somebody's chi enough, you can track it back to where that chi came from. Now, I'd spoken to this individual on the phone once or twice, and the conversations went okay, but I could tell there was some underlying thing that was going on there. And because I felt like he was someone on the dark side, he was messing with me. He could feel my energy. So he's going to mess with me. He's going to throw these little bombs at me. It wasn't super bad, but it was subtle. But I knew he was messing with me. People will mess with you if they think they can, especially if you're in these energetic ways. I had one of my teachers in 2008 mess with me after teaching me techniques. He did that. And then I had a friend that did. And each one used a different technique in order to try to manipulate me. And I'm going to get into these defensive techniques in just a few minutes. And we're going to talk exactly how you can combat against these things. Some of the defense techniques that we're going to use for these specifics. And as we go through them, I'm going to talk about some specifics that were done against me. I used to actually look for it when I was younger. Let's say when I was about maybe 5, 6, 7 years in, my energy is getting stronger. I'm being able to feel energy. People can feel my energy. I would go to like psychic fairs. I would go to New Age trade shows. I would go to where witches were hanging out. I wanted to be recognized, and I wanted to play, and I wanted people to say, bring to me what you got. I'm going to go against it. I've had people send me these entities into my room, demons coming after me in dreams, and I fought them off successfully based on what I'm going to tell you, because the whole concept was my chi is strong, and I believe that God has my back. And so I didn't let any of these dark-sided forces to mess with me. And I kind of brought it on. And actually, the reason why I brought it on is because I wanted to know if this was real. So how better to know if it's real than if I get attacked? I get attacked by a student. I can feel that. I get attacked by these entities. I can feel it. Okay? And I just rebuke them out. I can get rid of them. I'm more powerful than they thought I was. Sorry for the coughing, but got to drink water while we're going through this. So keep that in mind, that people could do that. So how did I do that? I encouraged the fight because I'm a martial artist. So I encouraged the fight, and you don't have to do that. But there are definitely defense tools that you can use when somebody's coming at you. And that's what we're going to talk about next, is going into the actual defense concept, how we're going to defend against these things, these different techniques. So defending a dark side attack. There's two things you can take a look at. You can look at ignoring the threat versus retaliation. Retaliation, I haven't really done that much retaliation. I've done more of ignoring the threat and also defending against this threat more than retaliation, because I fully believe that you're going to be blessed or cursed based on your actions. And I've had many. This one student that was attacking, I ignored him. Now, what happens when you ignore somebody? Like I said, in order for somebody to pull off these dark-sided attacks, they've got to spend a lot of energy. They've got to spend a lot of time. And if you can ignore them, they might just go away. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. If somebody's putting in a lot of effort, a lot of time, and a lot of energy into messing with you, and they feel that it's not working, they're going to stop doing it. Either that or they're going to double down and make it even worse. Now, the other thing is you could retaliate, and I could send a bunch more energy somebody's way. And if they are good at energy, they can feel that it's coming from me. And then all of a sudden we've got a war. You got a fight going on. I don't really want to get into that fight. And here's why. Because I am doing my best to live a life that is going to provide value for me and others. I also want to make sure that if I do that, that people understand what the deal is. Okay? Retaliation is not always the best method. Ignoring it and letting somebody just die out is better, because then you don't get into a conflict. My idea is I don't want to get into a conflict because it takes time away from my business and professional life that I don't want to have to deal with. I don't want to be fighting. That's not my thing. I like sparring and everything like that, but in terms of getting in a fight that's going to be long and drawn out, and I may or may not win, because now somebody says, man, I'm really going to put my efforts at this person. So if I can defend it and move it to the side, I'm better off. Now, let's go over to a couple defense things that you can use. And again, as I go into these Trello cards, you can add your notes once you get them. As you start using some of these techniques, you can start cataloging. You can add photos. You can add, whatever you want into here. The first thing is called golden seal. It's creating a golden seal of protection. Now, I use a golden seal in my house. I use it around my kids when they go out. And it's this intention that I imagine this golden seal of protection that goes around my kids, it goes around my house. It protects everything that is me, my family, my friends. Mostly my immediate family is most intent, but I have that concept in my head, that golden seal, creating a golden seal of protection. The color gold is powerful in the sense that it has that quality that we all think of when it comes to gold. The gold standard, the gold method. Gold's a powerful recognition in your mind of something that is strong. Now, you could call it the platinum seal. You could call it the, whatever you want to call it. I call it the golden seal. It brings up a recognition for me that's easy to remember. Golden seal, and I can automatically put that golden seal on myself, on you. If you were in a room and I put a golden seal on you, I could place that golden seal on you as a protective force. Now, when you do that, some people say, oh, well, that's just you're thinking about it and you expect it. It's a placebo effect or whatever. Well, that is partially true. This is a lot about belief. And if you believe that you're putting a golden seal of protection around you, it is going to positively affect the outcome of whatever that you're looking to do. Now, you can also put that physical protection. It's an energetic protection. Now, that doesn't mean the first time you do it, you're going to feel that. Do a lying down meditation and you envision that golden seal going all the way around your body, almost like a golden aura. It's a very, very good technique. The other thing is a bulletproof chi vest. It's also known as golden bell. In internal kung fu, they talk about golden bell, which is where you can withstand. The ancient Chinese texts talk about golden bell, where you can actually stop a bullet with this golden bell protection. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a bulletproof chi vest that you imagine you're wearing. If somebody's attacking you, that it automatically bounces off. Or you could call it a Superman chest, however you want to do it. Now, I know these things sound, to many of you, they seem maybe ridiculous. But you got to remember that the mind moves the chi. So if you want to cover this area, you want to have this area covered, then you imagine it. You can do like that and just cover yourself. You can imagine yourself. Okay, so if I walk through this threshold, when I walk through, it suits me up with an armor of protection. You want to call it a golden seal, you want to call it a bulletproof vest, you want to call it an Iron Man suit. I mean, I know it sounds ridiculous, but again, your mind controls. So don't ever forget that. And I know some of the things I'm talking about might sound a little outlandish, but the fact of the matter is this is real. It is real. And if you don't see it as real, and it's never happened to you, well, then that's totally something different. That's a bulletproof chi vest. Mind force shielding method. It's a block technique. It's to control negative influences. If somebody wants to control you mentally, they're going to lob these negative thoughts, impressions, words at you. And so I've been using this block technique, this mind force shielding method for years. And I just imagine when somebody says anything negative to me, I just imagine this shield going up and covering whatever they're throwing at me. I also use it internally. So have you ever had a time where you've just weird thoughts coming in your mind? I mean, the fact of the matter is if we knew what everybody was thinking all the time, we would probably not have any friends. We would not like anybody because there's so many weird thoughts coming through our head at any given time. You've got to block it. So you've got to learn to block. And this is that mind force shielding technique that you've got to shield inside of your mind. The other one was one on your body. This was one in your mind, that you're protecting your mind against outside influences. Now, what are some other ways that you can protect your mind? And again, this is just in general. how can you protect your mind? Is you can stay away from negative influences. And that could be negative people. That could be the newspaper. It could be the news. It could be whatever. But you want to stay away from those negative influences. And if there are people that you feel are influencing you negative, those people can be just as dangerous to you as somebody that's deliberately trying to take you down. Bottom line, you've got to have a stronger mind than the other person, or else you're not going to get the results. This is a big belief factor. So if you don't think that you can pull this off successfully, if you don't have that confidence, you've got to build it up. You've got to build it up through exercise, repetition. And the best way to do that is to learn how to do the techniques that you think somebody might do at you so that you can get strong at it. Bottom line, that's just the way it has to be. And some of you might not agree with that, but from my perspective, I want you to be strong, and I want you to understand how to use all of these techniques. Here's the other thing. A cheap de-cleansing to remove stale, negative, bad energy. You want to pull the chi down from your head. You also want to do slapping and pushing the energy out. This can be done both physically and mentally. And let me explain a little bit more in detail. So we wash our bodies every day or every other day, whatever, and we cleanse ourselves. Well, the same thing is true energetically. You need to cleanse yourself. There's several different ways that you can cleanse yourself. The easiest way to cleanse yourself is, even when you're in the shower, is imagine that not only are you cleansing your body, but you're also cleansing the chi out, and that negative, dirty chi is going down the drain. And you pull it down like that. Now, that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is you can be sitting just like I am in a chair, and you're cleansing. Now, why would you do this? Is you would do this if you feel like you're being attacked with this dirty chi, with this bad energy. Let's say you walk into a room and the energy is just stale. The energy is terrible. How do you get rid of it? You've got to pull it out, and you pull it down from your head. You might be able to feel this. As I pull it down, I push it out through my feet. Now, when I push it out through my feet, I envision it going into a corner. I picture it going outside of the room, outside of the house, into a sewer, into the woods, wherever. Now, do you think that if you pulled out that stagnant negative chi and you pulled it out of your head and you pulled it down and you took it down to your feet and you took it out, and instead of throwing it away, you formed it into a ball and you envisioned it going in to the person that you're thinking about negatively? Do you think that could work? I don't know. Could it work? Of course it could, because whatever your mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But I want you to cleanse yourself, and you want to do this on an ongoing basis. You'll see in some of my videos, you'll see me going, pulling the energy down. The blood washing is circulating the energy where you can just pull it down. You can also slap the body. Slapping the body removes toxins and negative energy. If you ever felt like your energy is just so tight, you never hear the expression, you're wound tight. Well, how do you untighten? A couple different things. You pull the energy out, do a lying down meditation and send the energy out. You go hit something, right? As a martial artist, I go hit a heavy bag, and that relieves some of that energy. And if somebody is sending energy your way that is of a negative nature, then what you want to do is you want to be able to take that energy and remove it, because it's negative. It's not good. It's not something that you want to have to deal with. Again, you can do it on the shower. Some people have even done it where they take, if you have a chi stick, you can actually send the energy into the chi stick and then have it go out of the chi stick. Although I would rather have good energy in the chi stick at all times. If you don't know what a chi stick is, ask me about it, and I can give you more information about that. Now, the chi stick can also be used as a method to harm somebody. So power rings, amulets, chi sticks. These are things that you can use as power sources when you're looking to use a mechanism different than just standard, right? So this ring here, I infuse it with energy quite often. It's silver, and I infuse it with energy, and it's kind of like my power ring when I'm wearing it. It's my wedding band that my wife bought me, but it's a power, okay? You can use crystals, amulets. Now, I don't get really big into crystals and amulets and things like that, but for some people, it's a recognition of something that is powerful for them, okay? You can literally take your chi, your energy, your mental preparation, put it into anything. I put it into this microphone. I can infuse a bottle of water with chi, either good or bad. So I can infuse this bottle of water with dirty, negative chi so that when you drink it, what do you think it's going to do? It's not really going to be great, but I've infused it with good, positive energy. And that's what I'm drinking. It's good, positive energy water. Could do the same thing. So again, healing or hurting. The bottle's the same. The contents of the bottle are the same. It's the intent of what I want to put into this energetic device, which is the water in this bottle. Do I want that to be negative or do I want to be positive? Do I want it to be, how negative could I make that? I could think of the nastiest thing possible and put it into that water. Whatever that is, dirt, grime, excrement, whatever. I know it sounds disgusting, but think about it. You can use your energy to that level. By the same token, I can put in vitality. I can put in euphoric and blissful feelings in there. I can make that taste like that's the best drink in the world. That's going to empower that person and make them to be able to go out and do amazing things with their life. So again, you're going to see this dual type of thing here, this double-edged sword. It can cut one way or it can cut the other. It's all depending upon you. And this is exactly how you're going to get a handle on how you can defend against these types of things. It's really important that you understand these certain things. So how do you defend against some of these things? We talked about defending, retaliating, ignoring it. Let's talk about one thing. Let's talk about a chi crypt. Let's say somebody, and you know who this is, if somebody's attacking you and you know who it is, how can you defend against them? Well, this is a technique called the chi crypt. And this is where you put them in a box or a container, a crypt, if you will, and then you shrink the box. You take out the oxygen of the box. You make it cold in there. You make it super hot. You add weird things in it. Animals, gas, you name it, you control it. Now, when I talk about something like that, I know what you're thinking, like, that sounds horrible. But if somebody's messing with you and you're having a hard time getting a resolution, you got to put those people in a box. Now, how do you put somebody in a box and why? Why would you do that? Okay. So what's the how? How would you do that? Well, you visualize somebody. If you look up online, anytime you have some type of physical representation of somebody, it could be a fingernail, it could be a piece of hair, it could be a photograph. A photograph of somebody is that person. The energy of that person is in that photograph. If you can read energy well, you can look at a photograph of a deceased person and tell that that person's deceased. If you are looking at somebody, that's why psychics will look at a photograph. That's why they'll take a lock of hair or fingernails from somebody that's missing, is to try to establish a energetic connection. Well, the same thing is true here. You want to put somebody in a box, you get into your control panel, which is your meditation, and you think about that person and you imagine assisting them into the box or them being placed in the box. You can picture them sitting in their house, in their office, whatever, wherever, and you picture this box coming on top of them. So if I were sitting right here, you would imagine this box, right? This crypt coming down over me. And here I am at full size. And then you can imagine taking an energy and filling that box up. And you could fill it up with whatever you wanted. You could shrink it so that it literally encloses in on me. Now, what's the purpose of this? The purpose of this is certainly a retaliation. But what it allows you to be able to do is to plant the thoughts in that person's mind that is affecting you to leave you alone. It's kind of like, if you don't leave me alone, I'm going to keep putting the pressure on you to stop this. Now, if you want to try a technique like this out, try it on somebody you know and build it so that it is only slightly uncomfortable, so that it's not something that's going to hurt them permanently, because you could hurt somebody permanently and you don't want to do that. So what you want to do is you want to slightly assist in giving them some uncomfortableness. So if I'm sitting here in this chair and all of a sudden I feel this crypt coming around me and it's closing in on me, I feel a little bit unsure of what's going on. I'm confused. I'm like, what's going on here? That's what it does. Now, again, all these techniques that I'm going to teach you, I'm not saying these are going to work the first time you try them, but they will work over time. And not every technique is going to work on everyone every bit of the time. But if your intention is straight and you know the outcome that you're looking for, you can send that person, redirect them. The best thing is to redirect somebody. And so here's one thing I would say. So let me give you an example. So let's say you have a jilted lover situation. You broke up with somebody, or they broke up with you, or whatever reason. But anyway, it's a man or it's a woman, and they're coming after you. What is the single easiest way to get that person off of your track, off of your energy sphere, and doing something else? The easiest thing to do is to find them someone else that they can engage with. So if it's me, and let's say I'm with a woman and she is trying to pursue me and I don't want to be pursued, then what's the easiest way to divert that? Is it to retaliate, make her feel bad, make her suicidal? No, that's not the nicest thing to do. What I can do is I can redirect that energy by using my energy and my chi, my manipulation, to have her meet another man that she's going to fall in love with, that she's going to want to be with. And guess what? It's a win-win situation. It's taking care of my situation. It's also taking care of her situation, or in his situation, if it's a female male situation. And this is probably one that you can certainly do, is you think about that person and you imagine them within the next week or couple weeks meeting the person of their dreams, somebody that they're going to be totally happy with. And that's the thought. That's the energy that you send out. As I send this energy out, I'm sending it out to that person. And when it goes out, it's going out, it's spiraling, it's going out. And when it comes down on them, it's showering them with that attraction ability. That is how you would get out of that situation, is you redirect it. You can redirect somebody's energy sometimes far more easier than you can by doing some type of suppression or actual retaliation. The chi crypt is definitely retaliation, but sometimes that needs to be done. And that's just the way it is. But I don't want you to ever think that you need to do that. But I want you to test some of these things. Energy vampires, we already talked about that, pulling the the energy out of their joints. Every time they speak with you, they suck out some of your energy, sometimes deliberate, sometimes not. We already talked a little bit about that. Check this one out. Putting a picture in the freezer. There's a couple different techniques that involve freezing. This is a technique that I learned from a Russian psychic years and years ago when somebody was bothering me. And it's kind of an interesting concept. And it's you get a photograph of the person that is bothering you, and you take and you X 3 of the corners of the photo. You wrap it in aluminum foil, and then you put it in a freezer. It freezes that person out, which means they stop bothering you. They just forget about it. Okay. Now that is a retaliation, but it's really a way to get that person off of your wavelength. You freeze them out. There's many different ways that you can freeze out. I'm going to teach you another technique called the Mr. or Mrs. Freeze technique, which is probably a little bit more, I would say, stronger than this one, but this one works great. I used it on a situation and it worked beautifully. So you get a picture, photograph, and then you put an X in 3 of the corners, put it in aluminum foil, and then put it in a freezer. It freezes that person out. It freezes them out of your life so that you don't have to deal with them again. And again, if you have any situations like this going on, let me know. Send me a question. This is what's happening. How can I deal with it? And we can come up with a solution together if I don't already have one for you, which is extremely important. I want to make sure you get solutions to what you're dealing with. So a powerful stare with chi emitting out of your eyes. And it's kind of like saying to somebody, listen, you better be careful because you never know what might happen. I mean, after all, I might make it such that, a certain favorite part of your body won't function. Know what I'm saying? And of course, they say, yeah, right. And you just say, we'll see, as I nod my head self-assuredly. Now, what does this do? Somebody's giving you a hard time. You let them know that you're in control and that you can hurt them if you need to. I might just make one of your favorite body parts, and I think you know what body parts we're talking about. We're talking about sexual body parts won't function. You can send that thought to somebody. Now, here's the other thing, is that somebody could do that to you. So how would you protect against somebody that's staring at you with these blazing eyes and they're emitting this chi out of their eyes? How are you going to defend against that person that says this to you? How are you going to defend against that person? Well, the first thing you need to do is, again, this block technique. You need to envision the fact that you can block anything that comes at you. Just like if you're in a physical confrontation and somebody throws at you, you block. For example, in most fights, if you can block, you can win, because most fights don't last longer than 20 seconds. And if you were to be able to block well enough to withstand the first amount of punishment, the person would be so tired you could easily beat them. Now, one of my colleagues, one of my martial arts buddies, this was his thing. He was a bouncer at a door, and whenever he would get in a fight, he would block. He was good at blocking. He would block every punch, every kick. And he knew that unless somebody's a professional fighter, they're used to fighting 20, 30 seconds, less than a minute later, they're going to be tired. And when they're tired, they're weak. When somebody's tired and weak, you can beat them. And the same thing goes true with this, is that you want to be able to block the techniques that they throw at you. Somebody's staring at you and they're saying that they're going to do something. What would you say in that case? You would say, unless I do that to you first, unless I were to take all my power and all my energy and make sure that you're uncomfortable, to make sure that your body part is not functioning properly, if you know what I mean, and you look intently back at them. That's how you deal with something like that. Now, this is a rare occurrence. This is something that you can use by using the power of your eyes and the power of the positive expectation that I can and will do what I need to do in order to defend myself. Now, when I walk around in a unknown city, I defend myself by putting that golden seal around myself, but it's an aura that says, do not bother me. Do not mess with me. You won't like the result. Leave me alone, right? And so when I'm standing up and I'm in New York City or I'm in Philadelphia or I'm in another city, I picture that. So as I'm walking, I feel that energy and I'm expecting to not have a problem in any of these cities that I'm walking around in, because I have that vibration of that's not the person you want to mess with. Now, think about this. Somebody that's on the street that's looking to accost you, mug you, whatever, they are looking for the easiest target possible. Now, when it comes to this type of psychic self-defense, it's the same thing. Somebody's going to attack you because they think you're weak. They are not going to attack you if they think you're strong. That's why you build your chi energy up. You build your mind force up. You build that spiritual power up so that you are stronger. You are more powerful than they could ever imagine of somebody that they would mess with. And you set this up so that you can make that happen. And it's the thoughts, but it's putting in the flight time. It's building up your energy. It's practicing some of these techniques so you have confidence in knowing that they're working. And then when you do walk into a city, you've got that expectation. When I walk into a room, the expectation is that I own the room. I'm the shot caller. I'm the baller. That's confidence. It might be, some of you might think that's arrogance, but it's really confidence. In my mind, I don't have to tell you that. I'm telling you that as an example. But the fact of the matter is, when I walk in a room, I feel like I own it. That's the attitude. That's the energy. I don't want people to feel that. I want them to know that there's a quality person that's just walked in the room. I want you to do the same thing. So a lot of these concepts can be used in so many different ways, not just thwarting one of these attacks. For sure. Now, this is one of my favorite techniques. This is a retaliation technique. It's called a shrinky dink. It's squeezing and shrinking someone into the size of a grain of sand. So you've got somebody who's bothering you. Now, this could be somebody that's mentally bothering you, physically bothering you. It could be somebody that you feel is sending you negative vibrations. This is similar to the freeze technique. It's just a little bit of a different technique. And it's, again, where I visualize somebody and I'm taking them and I'm placing them and I'm starting to shrink them. So I get in my mind's eye this person. So when you visualize like this, you're in a meditative, you're either sitting, you're lying down. I could do it right here as I'm in my chair, just closing my eyes and thinking about somebody. And I picture them in the middle of that screen in my mind. And then what I do is I start shrinking them. I take them and shrink them and then shrink them more and shrink them more. I shrink that person down until they're just a little grain of sand. And then I take them and I move them to the corner of the picture. If you're using this video analogy, if you took me and shrunk me down and you moved me to the corner and just placed me right there, that little grain of sand in the corner of that picture. Because a lot of times you can't remove somebody or a situation. But what you can do, and here's the other thing, is you can use the same technique, the shrinky-dink technique, for any issue that is bothering you. If you have a situation that you feel is overwhelming you, is you do the same thing. You picture it in your mind's eye. You shrink it down to that grain of sand, slide it to the corner, and that's it. So whatever problem you have, situation you have, person that's bothering you, same thing. You just put them in there. You just take it and collapse them. Make them small. So I didn't kill anybody. I didn't hurt anybody. I didn't hit them, but I made them so small that they were insignificant. It's a fantastic technique. This is one that works extremely well. And most people that I've trained have used this one very successfully because it's something that people can grasp. They can grasp this concept. And if you understand of taking something of significance and then making it insignificant, is a very, very interesting concept. Here's the other thing. You want to have chi integration cords with anyone that you meet. And a chi integration cord is this energy that is essentially coming out of your body and is connecting with somebody else. And you can connect with the chakras and the vortexes in the body. And so if I'm standing up, I'm connecting to you on all of these chakra points that are coming directly at you, on all the vortex points, which are in the legs and the arms. They're coming at you so that if you were standing in front of me, we would have a connection. We would have an immediate connection that my body is connecting to yours. Once I have that connection, then that connection has been established. I can then transfer information back and forth from you. Now, if somebody were attacking me, though, I probably wouldn't do this technique. But if I was attacking them, I would definitely do this technique. If I was with you and I wanted to attack you, I would set this up. I would feel that energy. I would connect you with me, your energy, and I would start to siphon off that energy. Or I would take some of my energy and I would implant it into you. Specific thoughts, specific types of actions, specific things that I think would really bother you. And that's exactly what I would do. I would send that into you. You set up those cords. Now, once I set up those cords, I can cut them and then it's done. Of course, if I were to ever do that to somebody, I would want to make sure that I went back and cleansed myself. Now, people that are truly on the dark side, evil side, they love collecting this bad energy. They want to build it up. And I met several people through my travels that had that energy, and it was just like, get away from me. I don't even want to be near you. I don't want to learn anything from you. I don't want to trade energy from you. I just don't want to do it. And I know I've mentioned this before, but it's so important that you protect your energy. You always want to protect your energy. So you never want to commingle your energy with somebody that is not the right energy. I remember one time I was going to train with chi exercises with somebody who their energy was very strange. I can't even put my finger on it today. Is this a very strange cat, you know? And I was just like, I don't want to train with this person because I don't want that energy. They were a nice person on the outside, but I think they had some turmoil with their energy, and I don't want anything to do with it. And so you got to be careful that you don't ever want to intermingle energies with somebody that doesn't have a similar energy or something that you want. So for instance, obviously from the vampire standpoint, if you're going to vampire energy off of somebody, you want it to be somebody that has great energy, that is energy you want. You would not vampire energy off of somebody that was not the same type of energy as you, if you know what I'm saying. Because if you were to look to get the energy from somebody that had negative or dirty chi, I call it dirty chi. It's anything that's less than clean. And that could mean anything. That could be weird sexual thoughts. That could be murderous thoughts. That could be, any number of weird thoughts. People have weird thoughts in their head. We all do. I do. You do. And it's strange. But there's other people that have weird thoughts all the time, and they have a weird energy. I've met so many people like that, and I'm just like, hey, I keep my distance from those people. Now, if I felt somebody like that, and I have, like when I go to like these new age festivals, I go to some type of psychic fair. Obviously, there's a lot of strange people around there. And I would encourage you to do that. I would encourage you to go to these types of functions where people are into energy and into these types of things and start to feel the different feelings of what's out there. You want to be able to feel different types of energy. You want to know what clean energy feels like. You want to know what dirty energy feels like. You want to know what nasty energy feels like. You want to know what it feels like. You want to go to these places, and you almost are tempting somebody to mess with you so that you can feel it, so you can feel that weirdness. Because unless you understand what that weirdness feels like, you won't have anything to measure if somebody were to try to attack you. Because they can attack you in a very, very mean way, in an evil way, because some people are just lined up that way. I mean, let's face it. If you look at our prisons, and if you look at people that do crazy stuff like going into offices and murdering people, going to schools and murdering people, these are people that are they got very evil thoughts. Somebody that can take that thought and then make it a physical reality is evil, pure evil. There are people out there with, like I said, varying degrees of this type of thought process. And you probably have run into people like that. And that's why you have this course, is you're trying to protect yourself against those that would try to make your life miserable, or they would try to harm you in even a more diabolical way. So let's talk real quickly about several of the ways that we've kind of done a pretty good overview, and I've given you some good defense techniques that you can use. We've talked about why people get seduced into this dark side. And of course, we went over some of the basic concepts of energetics and how it works. But I want to talk a little bit about the three main points. And that is the physical, the mental, and the spiritual manipulation, some of the different things that can be done. And then in the next subsequent classes, we're going to go into the actual techniques. Let me just show you them real quick. I mean, there's a ton of techniques, and we're going to add a whole bunch more as we go over the next couple weeks, as well as review some of the things we've gone over here. And I want you to go through each of the things we've talked about, and they're all going to be on this board. So you're going to see them on this board. So you're going to be able to refer back, which is good, because I've got, the notes that are on here is what I'm teaching today. You're going to be able to go directly to these things and make notes, make comments, send me questions to get answers. There might be something on here that kind of, allowed you to say, okay, I forgot about that. Now let me ask about that. So let's talk about the three different aspects: the physical, the mental, the spiritual manipulation, and some of the things that happen there. So physical manipulation, quantum qigong. We've talked a lot about this physical qi manipulation, but it can be pretty drastic. I mean, people can do a lot of nasty things with energy. I'm going to teach you techniques in the next couple of classes where, if you wanted to, you could choke somebody out with their energy, with your energy choking them out. You can make somebody so uncomfortable that they would become a wreck. And part of that would be kind of like that chi crypt technique that we talked about. That's a physical, mental type of technique that you could really, if you really wanted to put the pressure on somebody, you could do it. One of the ways you would do that is that it wouldn't just be putting them in the box and shrinking it or making it cold, but it would be making it so cold that they couldn't stand it. Right. So there's different degrees of everything that we're talking about. There's different degrees of heat, right? There's, uncomfortable heat. And then there's 150 degrees heat that you're about ready to die. Okay. We also look at, so that's quantum qigong, dark side, quantum qi. chi energy, put all of those things in that bucket, a lot of the things that we've already talked about and some more things that we haven't. You've got anti-healing on the dark side. Now, this is some of the most dangerous and intense things ever. And that is actually implanting disease, death, wanting somebody to die, just like my friend did with his wife's coworker. And he was mentally concentrating on sending her these bad vibrations and this bad energy. He doesn't call it chi. He didn't even call it energy. He said, man, I was focused on this woman and I wanted to take her down. That was his thoughts. That's what he said to me. And this is a good friend of mine too. And he's not a bad guy, but obviously this is something that took him to the brink where he was going to focus. Well, there's people out there that will do anti-healing, which means they will look to cause you health problems. So how do you defend against something like that? Again, it comes down to having that shield. It comes down to knowing if somebody's messing with you. It's clearing the energy out with energy, keeping your energy clean, keeping your energy vital. That's what you want to do. You want to keep your energy as clean as possible. You want to have an intention in your mind that when you do your lying down meditation, that every time it's just renewing, your body's renewing. You can also do the same thing when you go to sleep. When you go to sleep at night, you should consider yourself going through a process of this sleep process, because sleep is a renewal of your body, mind, your spirit. And we'll go into a little more details on that in the spiritual section. But you want to understand a couple things. And that is that when you go to sleep, it's the best time for you to do energy work. It's the best time for you to be able to heal your body. You know, you send subliminal and subconscious messages to your mind as you lay down, and you tell yourself that you're going through a regenerative process while you're sleeping. And even though we know that we are, that's why we sleep. We sleep because we get tired, we get renewed, we wake up and we feel a lot better, right? If you tried to stay up for 24, 48 hours or longer, it's not a good scene, right? And those of you that have ever done that know exactly what I'm talking about. But there's a difference between you knowing that when you go to sleep, your body's regenerating, and there's a difference between you implanting the thought in your mind that you're going to super regenerate when you go to sleep. So it's almost like when you go to sleep, you envision, this is what I envision. I envision myself lying there and like this energy form coming down and just working on my body and making it better, making it stronger, making it healthier, making it more vital, right? I'm 54 years old and I want to be as vital and as strong and as powerful as I can, as long as I can. I don't control how long that's going to be. We don't, none of us do. But what I can control is I can control ultimately in my mind what I want to look like, feel like, I want that energy to be like. Now, that's the healing process. If you have that intention, you're going to also be able to send that mental recognition to your mind that on a nightly basis, anything that your subconscious picks up as negative, as bad energy, is to have it removed. So if somebody were doing an anti-healing technique, I use the word anti-healing technique because it's the reverse of healing, then you would want to have that removed. You can also do this for somebody else. So if somebody were telling you, hey, I think somebody's sending me bad vibes, bad vibrations, because see, the bad vibrations, bad energy can start off just as that, as just energy, stagnant energy. And I believe most disease, most things that harm you is a result of stagnant negative energy. And if you keep your energy flowing in your body, there's less of a chance for it to stagnate and to build up a reservoir of darkness or negativity. And so if you had somebody else that you felt had some negative situations, you could heal them by moving that energy out. Again, we're redirecting the negative energy out of the body. And again, that doesn't mean that the first time that you try this, it's going to work. But if you on a daily basis are taking the energy and pulling it out of your body and just letting it go, the negative energy, it's almost like you're taking your body and you're just pulling little by little the negative chi out. You're cleaning, you're cleansing your body. That's going to do amazing things for you. I know that seems simple, right? A lot of these concepts are simple. If you've ever seen the blood washing technique, you know it's a simple technique, but yet it works wonders. It's amazing. You've got to do the same thing with these types of exercises. Understand how powerful they can be by using them. And anti-healing is one of the most despicable things that anybody could ever do to you, they could ever think for you. And yet it happens all the time. Guess what? Let me tell you where it happens most of the time. It happens from us. So many times we think negatively that we're going to get some type of disease or we're going to get sick. Don't ever think that. Don't ever think that. You've got to think that you're pure, you're vital, you're energetic, your health. When you go through your body, it's just clean and it's healthy. Now, hey, am I in the best shape ever? I got a 6-pack of abs? That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about cleaning the internal body so that it is pristine. That's what you've got to vision in your head and clean it out every day, every week, whatever. That's what you've got to have in your head. That's part of the defense system of the dark side. Because one of the most important things about the dark side is that you are probably your worst enemy. Because number one, you allow someone else to influence you negatively. And more importantly, the way your own self-talk is, you allow yourself to control yourself in a negative way. You make yourself overly nervous, fearful, right? You overly amount of doubt. That's you doing that to you most of the time. Now, obviously, sometimes it is coming from an outside source, but you've got to be able to take that and lock it down. That is going to be a healing thing. It's going to make this entire class worth everything for you. I don't care if you're 25 and you're in excellent health, or if you're 85 and you feel like you just need some vibrancy. You need to get that thought. You're cleaning yourself out. You're cleaning yourself out. That clear chi is coming into your body when you're lying down. It's coming up into your body. It's infiltrating your body. It's renewing. It's revitalizing. It's making your body stronger. When you look at your body, you should look at it like it's the Incredible Hulk. It's just this massive amount of energy power. And when you think of that from the standpoint of somebody attacking you from the dark side, you now have a power source that is connected with your body and your mind, and then also your spirit. And so you've got to be very careful with these anti-healing. I mean, it's one, like I said, to me, it's one of the most despicable things that anyone could ever try to harm you with. And then the next thing is death point striking. Now, this is just something I added because it's kind of the physical aspect of it, is that you'll notice that I have a book that is dim mak striking and pressure points. So dim mak striking is martial arts, and it takes the pressure points, the acupressure points and other ones. And when you hit them, you can actually cause somebody a delayed reaction, which could cause death. That's why it's called death point. It's also called poison hand, because you can touch somebody and you can poison them with your hand. That's the idea, is you're sending chi in. Well, there's ways that you can use your chi to hit somebody, just a tap, and you can send that energy into their body and have it go anywhere you want and cause destruction. This is also part of the anti-healing techniques. And it's more of the physical. I'm not going to go into that much detail in it. We will have a section on it. But so you've got the two sides. You've got, again, yin and yang. You've got the light and dark. You've got the death point striking, poison hand. That doesn't sound very nice, does it? And then on the other side, you've got the acupressure pressure points. So the same points that heal are the same points that destroy. And so we'll cover a little bit of that. Obviously, if you have the Mind Force Library, you have those books. Even if you're not a martial artist, it's good to understand these points, because if somebody is really good with energy and manipulation, they can literally go into any of these points with the energy and look to cause a problem in any of those areas. Same thing with your mind. If you've seen that Mind Force guy with the different mind maps, well, you can do the same thing with the energy. You can send it into somebody's head and say, I'm going to influence this guy in a negative way, and I'm going to send the energy to this specific part of their head. And so that's how this physically relates. And I know many of you find that hard to believe. When I first started teaching the ability to emit energy, most people couldn't believe it. But I've taught people how to do it many, many times. And if you have the Chi Power Blueprint, you've been able to do that, I'm sure, many, many times and do some really, really great techniques. And the reason we do those techniques is really to showcase the fact that you can do that, and that there's a lot more to your body, mind, and spirit that you even know. So that's the physical manipulation. The mental manipulation is hypnotic influence, dark side. And I talked a little bit about that from the standpoint of how I would manipulate somebody with my energy and my words. And it really can get devious, because you can speak to somebody, and just by speaking to them with hypnotic influence is you can give them paranoia, you can give them suppression, migraines, and even suicidal thoughts. This is really the essence of despicable and diabolical and just terrible, horrible that you could do to somebody, is to give them the thought that they would want to actually damage themselves or kill themselves. But this is part of it. This is why people will do crazy, crazy things, because they have this feeling that life is no longer worth it. My mother was mentally ill, so I saw this from many different standpoints, from not only her, but from the people that were around with her in her facility and everything like that. It's a very, very sad situation. But I also notice that you've got to be able to understand that depression is something that is so, I guess the word is, our minds are so, can be very, very feeble, and depression can get in. And, you know, if you look around and you see, you know, different people that are committing suicide, whether they're celebrities or people that you know, it's really the worst of the worst, because it's somebody that's actually taking their life because they feel their life is not worth it. Well, there are diabolical ways within hypnotic influence, and I'm going to cover some of those on how somebody could make you feel like you wanted to kill yourself. And it's the worst of the worst, but the people are out there. People will do it just to see if you would do it. And even if it worked, they would be like, oh, I don't think I really did it, even though they said something to you. And really, are words that powerful? Words are powerful. Hypnotic influence is powerful when you focus and you have an intention on a specific outcome, and you create a word pattern, a hypnotic pattern that is designed to cause an effect. Now, most of the time, we do hypnotic influence patterns to produce a positive effect, a win-win effect. What if we were looking for the negative effect? To get, like I had mentioned before, of planting that seed in somebody's mind that they're fearful, that they have doubt, that life's just not worth living. What kind of effect would that have on the person? And I think you'll find that it works. The reason why some people will do things that triggers them, it could be a song, it could be something that somebody said to them that could trigger a very, very bad situation. So just think about that. It happens every day. People are doing this every day, and they get triggered. Sometimes you'll hear people that have committed suicide. People will say, hey, they seemed like they were in a great mood. Everything was good. And sometimes when somebody's on a high, it's not that much longer before they go on a low. That's why when you try to maintain an emotional state, you want your emotional state to be more medium than super high or super low. Obviously, super low, you never want to be, but you want to be more moderate, because within moderation, you can kind of see what's going on. When you're super high, you're happy about everything. That's when it's could take a drop. And what happens to people sometimes is they get on the ultimate high and then it drops down to an ultimate low. And that's when they get to that part. And that's where anything, and again, you never know why people do things, let's face it. But I mean, I've had family members that have been affected this way very, very severely. So, it's nothing to joke about. But the fact of the matter is you've got to look at it and say, it could have been a word. It could have been a song. It could be something they read that caused that. If that's true, and I believe it is, then you can use hypnotic influence, subliminal suggestions to impart something on somebody. And somebody can do the same thing to you. And I'm going to go into some exact examples, which are really just terrible, but they work extremely well. And you can start to use them right now. Is, like I said, if you have the Mind Force library and you already have manipulation, you already have the hypnotic influence manuals, then you can start using some of those things to see how well that works. And if you really want to see the dark side of that, turn it up a notch to the dark side. I'll give you another short story. So I had a woman that I worked with that I, again, manipulated into thinking that, I wanted to do something with her or whatever. And I would feed her hypnotic influence lines until she came up to me and finally said, let's get together. And of course, I had to put the kibosh on that. This is 20 years ago, so don't think it was yesterday. But I was testing the chi. I was testing the hypnotic influence. I wanted to see how far I could push it. Sometimes in order to test something, you need to push the envelope a little bit to see if it works. You want to get a predetermined outcome that came deliberately and specifically from the parameters that you set up. I would never want to take it to the extent where I was actually hurting somebody. But in some of the instances that I mentioned, I could have hurt the person if I took it the next level. And that would have been my bad. That would have been my fault, and it would have been probably disastrous. So I'm glad I didn't go that route. But think about that. I want you to really think about that. Now, the next thing is something that is diabolical too, and that is something called anti-manifestation dark side. And what this is where you set somebody up so that instead of attracting and manifesting the good in life, is you condition them to be a total failure. It's anti-attraction, anti-manifestation. You send the energy to them, then it's going to get them to think that they are not worthy, that they are not worthy of attraction, that they are a failure. It's another horrible thing that you can do, but it happens all the time. In fact, I've had financial suppression where I know that people were trying to suppress me. Now, how were they trying to suppress me? They were using their energy to suppress my business. Now, how did I know that? I know some of you are probably thinking it's speculation, but when you have a certain amount of business coming in and then all of a sudden it dies down to almost zero, you got to think to yourself, what's going on? And as I started looking at, I went online and I saw that people were trying to suppress me. I know that there were individuals sending out this bad mojo. I could feel it. They were making me think that, hey, it's all over. There's nothing I can do. It's terrible. I'm a failure. And I know that some of you are thinking that doesn't seem real. I mean, how could somebody do that? But if they're in these energy sciences and arts, Just like you can do a meditation to make somebody feel good, just like you did a meditation, you could try to suppress somebody. And again, like I said, it takes a lot of work to do it. So if somebody's doing it, they're doing a lot of work. So how did I get out of that situation? Number one, I ignored them. Number two, I sent the energy out that I'm doing better than ever. Even though at that particular time, I was in bad shape. But I sent the energy out that I am doing phenomenal. And I put it in my mind. It took me about a couple months to get back, of consistent effort of doing this every day, to take that away. And then I knew one thing, the blessing was going to be even greater. And it was. Ended up earning more money, more opportunities, more things that are better. So again, the manifestation and attraction concepts are very much a yin and yang thing, because you can either set yourself up for success, you could set yourself up where you're going to be totally successful and manifest everything you want, your desire, or you can get into the negative where it doesn't seem like it's happening. You want to get that attraction, but somebody that's on the dark side, they can also infiltrate you with techniques that are going to cause you to lose everything, or that you think that you're going to lose everything. Because again, one thing as I mentioned, fear and doubt. Fear, doubt, confusion. Those are the things that the person that's looking to affect you negatively from the dark side are going to do. Fear, doubt, confusion. You can practice this right now. You can give somebody fear. You can give them doubt. You can give them confusion. Confusion is a good one to give somebody for short term, because it'll allow you to see how well this works, and that it doesn't give them that downer like fear or doubt. Okay, but you could use any one of those to actually get somebody to feel that way. And so you want to make sure that you understand that most of these things cut both ways. Most of these techniques are going to work and cut both ways. And that's what makes them so powerful too. Absolutely powerful. So the next thing is spiritual manipulation. Psychic dark side is, we've heard of psychic attacks. And those a lot of times are involved with dream states, sending entities, demons your way. And it can be really scary stuff. I've encountered this over the years, where people have sent these demons or entities at me, and you just have to fight them off. Now, how did I fight them off? Again, it's my energy. It's my ability to rebuke them. It's using these shielding mechanisms. It's believing in the power that they don't, because a lot of times things don't have power over as you think they do. It really comes down to how you perceive them. Most things that have power don't have as much power because they have power because you give them power. And when somebody's trying to do a psychic dark side influence on you, they're doing it in a way to make you believe something that's not true. That doesn't mean that it is true. It means that it's not true, but they're trying to convince you otherwise. And they're going to do these type of spiritual manipulations through your dreams, and by giving you thoughts that you're inadequate, again, spiritually, that your spiritual walk is nothing, it doesn't mean anything, that it's not a big deal. And when they do that to you, they're expecting a response. They're expecting a reaction. You can take somebody and you can make them feel spiritually bankrupt by giving them these thoughts. Your thoughts are making you less spiritual. Now, when you say that your thoughts are making you less, if I say to you, your thoughts are making you less spiritual, what that does is that it causes you to think about your thoughts. Now, I don't know what your thoughts are. There's no way I could know that, right? But when I say your thoughts are making you less spiritual, and I get that in your brain, you start thinking, what are my thoughts that are making me less spiritual? Now, they could be perfectly normal thoughts, but because I'm giving you that subliminal suggestion, you start thinking, well, maybe my thoughts are making me less spiritual. And then you start thinking about the weird thoughts that you do have, because we all have them. And you start thinking, I am not worthy. I'm not as spiritual as I can be. And if somebody wants to build that seed of doubt, they can run you down spiritually to the point where you don't even know where you're at from your spiritual walk. And everybody has a spiritual walk. I have a spiritual walk. I'm a Christian, and definitely a different perspective than a lot of Christians have. But the fact of the matter is, that's my spiritual walk, is that belief in God, and that belief that he's got my back, he protects me, but he also gives me a free will to understand how these things work. And if I ever feel that spiritual connection breaking up, I know that there's something wrong. I need to get out of that funk. Anytime you're in a funk, that's probably the best way to describe it, is there's probably some kind of forces working on you. Sometimes it is a spiritual entity that's working on you, that's trying to pick apart your life. You're not worthy. And usually when that happens, it's right before a big blessing. So when you feel the pressure of something, that's not the time to quit. That's the time to double down on your efforts and realize that when you feel these attacks coming, even if whether the attacks are coming spiritually or whether they're coming from a person, you got to realize that there's usually something good coming out on the other side. If you have that belief, even if it isn't true, it's going to get better. It's going to be better. But the fact of the matter is, the laws of consequences, if you go through a suppression, if somebody's trying to suppress you, usually after that, you get a big blessing. And if you train your mind to be focused on that, to understand the fact that you will get the blessing, then you absolutely will. You absolutely will. So don't discount any of these concepts, either the physical, the mental, or the spiritual, because they're all combined to work together. And if I'm going to use my skills to use a dark side approach to mess with you, I can assure you that I'm going to use physical energy. I'm going to use mental. I'm going to use spiritual. Now, how would you use spiritual like in the form of dreams? We're going to go through an interesting concept called the Inception Protocol, which is going to be how do you infiltrate someone's dreams. Now, obviously, this is an advanced technique. I don't expect anyone on this in this class to know how to do that. If you can, hey, that's great, and we can talk about it. But there are levels where you can actually infiltrate somebody's dreams on a spiritual level and affect them. Just like that movie Inception. If you've ever seen that movie Inception, in fact, that's a good movie to watch prior to our next class. I know that sounds a little crazy, but it certainly is there. So that's a concept that we're going to go into detail on. But how can that work, right? How could you possibly get into somebody's dream? Well, think about it. If you're meditating and you're getting to a state where you're at a spiritual connection, we could call that out-of-body experience. We could just call it a spiritual connection, however you want to refer to it as. And you're taking your mind as well, and you're moving it to another location. You're thinking, let's say I'm thinking about you and I'm going to your location. I'm thinking about you there. What is the next step of taking my spirit and putting it inside of you and start manipulating your dreams? Or going into those dreams and saying, this is what you're going to dream today. This is what I want you to know. Now, I want you to think on that. I want you to maybe even do some research on that. It's an advanced technique. It's not something everybody can do. I can promise you that. But when you can do that, it's pretty high level. And I've trained with people that were extremely good at it, and we trained together. And we did what we called nighttime training, where we would train in the spirit. Which when you train in the spirit, guess what? There's no boundaries. There's nothing that you can't do. It all comes down to your imagination and what you think you can and want to do. And then when you get back to this area, this plane of existence, you realize that you're learning at a higher level because you're learning things that most people would consider almost impossible. So we'll go over that in detail in the next couple classes because we're going to spend more time on the actual techniques, even though I've given you quite a few techniques that you can already use. And you can go into the board here, like I said, and you can look at all of these different things, and then we're going to go into the techniques. I won't include the techniques on the board that you're going to get right now, but I will include them on the next time. But this is all the material we've covered here on the board, so you're going to be able to refer back to it. So I've given you quite a few techniques. I mean, we've been going here for a couple hours now, a little longer than I anticipated, but I wanted to give you a good foundation on this. And I think it's provided you a really good chance to understand how these things work. And it's my hope that as we go through the next classes, so what do you need to do for the next class? So for the next class, it's going to be in about a week and a half or so. We are going to go into more specific techniques, and we're going to do a deep dive, even deeper than what we did today, on these concepts. I've already given you techniques, and you can find them on the Trello board. Look them up, and I want you to start practicing. Just pick a couple techniques over the next couple weeks, and I want you to start practicing them. And I want you to give me feedback on how they're working. I want you to let me know if they're not working. Say, hey, I tried this technique and it just didn't work for me. Or I did this method that you talked about and it just didn't work like you said. Because we're gonna take it apart. We're gonna disassemble the technique and then reassemble it and see why it's not working if it's not working. But of course, everything takes some time. So pick a couple techniques and start drilling them. If you don't have an energy practice right now, you can start it simple just by meditating. Doing lying down meditation, sitting meditation. If you've got the advanced chi video, certainly watch that. Start doing the energy exercise. You're going to get a great amount of chi on that. It's phenomenal. You can go through the Chi Power Blueprint. If you've got the Mind Force Library, I've got tons of information in there. If you've gone through the Sequence Masterclass, that's again phenomenal training on a lot of the inner energetics and creating that energy body. Because remember, we're creating not just one concept. We're creating really a multitude of concepts where it's that triad concept. We get that physical chi body. We're building up our chi body physically. We're building up the mental, the mind force, where we can become more powerful mentally. And that's going to include that belief factor. That's going to include that hypnotic influence, that when we say a subliminal suggestion, that it works, that it implants immediately. We've got our spiritual side, where we're understanding that we're not just this physical body. We're not just this mind. We're a spirit inside of this body, and that we can do a lot with that spirit and we can understand it. By the same token, on the flip side, somebody that wanted to cause us harm has those same tools. They have those same weapons that they can use against us. And that's why we need to understand the defensive measures in order to understand if somebody were doing a certain technique, how will we get around? I've already given you enough of the defense measures that you can use. These are the same defense measures I would use that I've already taught in this class, that I've used every single time that I've been attacked. We'll go into more techniques and some more of the defense and counters to those techniques in the next couple classes. But again, I need your feedback. I need your questions so that we can go into more detail on some of those specific things for the specific people in this class. Any questions, comments, either email me. Once you get the Trello board, I'm going to have a question and answer session there. All you need to do is ask me the question. I'll get it answered either right inside the Trello board, or I'll do it inside of the next couple classes. Thanks for watching. And like I mentioned to you, is that I believe that you've gotten a great foundation in this last couple hours of how you can use these techniques to defend against these psychic attacks. I mean, I think you've got more than enough right here to give you everything you need. But I think in the next couple classes, we're going to go into even more detail. And I want, like I said, I want your feedback, because I want you to tell me what you want to learn. And I'll teach you as best I can. And I think you're going to get a great deal of information from that as well. So thanks for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you on the next class. So long.